My friends, before you go calling yourself delusional, before you start believing the lie that they've forgotten you, let's slow down and tell the truth. What you're feeling right now, it's not just longing, it's not desperation, it's not weakness, it's the echo of something real. Two people don't just collide that deeply and walk away untouched. When you've synced emotionally with someone, especially someone you gave your raw, unfiltered self to, the residue doesn't just vanish into thin air when the connection breaks. It lingers, it vibrates, it leaks into your thoughts, your dreams, your mood. And here's the twist most folks don't realize. That pull you feel in your chest, that sudden moment of thinking about them when nothing triggered it, that's not just you missing them, that's them thinking about you, and you picking it up without even realizing it. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things. You're just deeply tuned in. When people connect on a soul-deep level, their emotional systems sync like Bluetooth devices. Even when disconnected, they leave traces behind, what I call neural echo. It's like when you walk out of a concert and your ears are still ringing. The music is over, the band's gone, but your body still feels it. That's what you're dealing with. And the more they try to suppress what they felt with you, the louder that echo becomes. See, people don't erase you because they don't care. They try to because they do, and it's too heavy to carry. It's easier to ghost, to fake smiles, to jump into distractions, to talk to someone else and pretend they're not comparing. But comparisons are automatic. Even now in their silence, they're stacking others against your memory. And that memory is a hard one to beat. You gave them something solid, something rare, something real. And real has a habit of haunting. Let's be brutally honest. If they could replace you, they would have by now. If they were truly over it, they wouldn't still be watching your story, still checking your posts, still lurking in silence. And no, they won't always hit that follow button again. They won't always slide in with a hey, but they'll keep tabs. They'll hold back. Because reaching out means confronting something they're still not ready to admit. That they messed up, that they lost something they didn't understand at the time, that they misjudged you. And folks, that realization doesn't show up with balloons and apologies. It hits in the quiet, in the guilt, in the way their chest sinks when your name pops up unexpectedly. That's the beginning of regret, and regret, that thing festers, quietly, slowly, powerfully. You see, Stoicism isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about standing firm in the storm. It's about knowing that truth doesn't need to scream. It just needs to be known. And the truth is, they felt something. They still do. And you're not crazy for sensing it. You're tuned in. So don't chase. Don't fold. Don't go explaining your worth to someone who's already tasted it and is now pretending it didn't change them. Let time do its thing. Let guilt run its course. Let memory chew at their piece, because if what you gave was real, it will echo back. My friends, this chapter isn't the end. You're just standing in the hallway before the comeback scene. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Don't give up on yourself, or what's meant for you. It's circling back. Slowly. Quietly. Inevitably. Now listen to me. Don't just sit there nodding. If this hit you in the gut, if even one part of this cracked open a truth you've been too afraid to say out loud, then I want you to own it. Don't just feel seen. Respond. You've been doubting yourself for way too long, letting silence convince you you're forgotten. That ends right now. Go to the comments and write this like you mean it. They always come back. Not maybe. Not sometimes, always. Burn it into the feed. Claim it like a truth you finally believe. No more second guessing. And while you're at it, hit that like button like you're slamming the door on every lie you told yourself. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. because this is just the start of a mental comeback you didn't even know you needed. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to rebuild you, brick by brick. So don't just watch, don't just nod. Write it, like it, subscribe, stay with me. We're rewriting your story, and this time, you're the one in control. Number 1. The mirror effect. Why your glow-up actually creates internal resistance in them. You ever wonder why they've gone quiet ever since you started to get your spark back? Why they're nowhere to be found now that you're finally healing, looking better, doing better, and carrying yourself like you actually survived what they thought would break you? It's not random. It's not silence. It's resistance. You think they don't see you, but trust me, they see everything. They're just not clapping, not liking, not messaging, because your glow-up is no longer just you moving on. It's a mirror. And that mirror, it's brutal. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that's what you are to them now, a living, breathing reflection of their mistake. You're proof that they had something valuable and didn't know how to hold it. And that's the part they can't handle. It's not your beauty that burns them, it's the contrast. It's how good you're doing without them. That, right there, that's not indifference, that's shame. That's regret dressed up as silence. See, most people think when someone doesn't watch your story or like your photos, it means they don't care. But folks, people don't go quiet because they forgot you. They go quiet because remembering you hurts. Watching your progress is like staring directly at a wound they gave themselves. And that wound reopens every time you smile, every time you show peace, every time you don't reach out. They don't engage because deep down they know they don't deserve access to the person you've become. They chose to break you, but you didn't break, you rebuilt. And now that version of you is too high up for them to reach without admitting they fell short. This is called mirror rejection. When someone once had power over you, but now can't even look at you without flinching, that's not silence. That's defense. They can't like your photo because it feels like confessing. They can't text you casually because you're no longer the same version of yourself they could manipulate or overlook. You've shifted, you've grown. And that transformation? It's loud, even in your quiet. Now, some of you might be asking, but if they regret it, why don't they just say it? Why don't they just admit it and come back? The answer is this. Admitting they were wrong about you means they have to tear down the version of themselves that let you go. It means owning their cowardice, their immaturity, their short-sightedness. And most people would rather lie to themselves for years than confront that kind of truth head-on. Because self-accountability, that's spiritual surgery, and it hurts more than missing you ever did. They may play cool in front of their friends. They may act unfazed online. But behind that fake composure is a person haunted by what they let go of, haunted by how wrong they were. And every day that you rise, every post that shows your peace, every photo that proves you're not chasing, not begging, not broken, it digs at their ego like a needle under the skin. But instead of saying, "I was wrong," they scroll past you like you don't exist, hoping if they ignore you long enough, the guilt will go away. It won't. Let me give you an image. Imagine someone dropping a diamond in the mud because they thought it was just a stone. Now imagine walking past that same diamond months later, cleaned, shining in the light, placed in a glass case, surrounded by people who recognize its worth. You think the one who dropped it won't feel a sting in their chest? Of course they will, but they won't say anything, because the minute they do, they admit their mistake. And that kind of honesty requires a level of self-awareness most people aren't ready for. So no, you're not being ignored, you're being avoided, because you became the proof that they misjudged something priceless. And when people misjudge something that valuable, their ego doesn't let them just walk back in, not unless it's been shattered by the weight of their own silence. So let them lurk, let them pretend, let them be busy. That's not strength, that's shame in disguise. Now here's the hard truth. This process is lonely. It's confusing. You're healing and still wondering why the one who hurt you can't even say, "I see you." But that's the test. That's the moment where you either seek their validation again or you rise without it. And believe me, the second you stop needing that final message, that closure, that reaction, you become untouchable. That's Stoic power. That's emotional detachment at its highest level. It takes strength to walk away. But it takes divine focus to keep walking when you know they're still watching and choosing not to speak. Don't let their silence make you question your value. Let it confirm it. Because the louder your glow, the more their pride will panic. And if they can't face you now, it's because they know they'll crumble when they do. So if you're feeling confused, if you're doubting your progress just because they haven't come back yet, remember this: your silence is screaming louder than their ego can handle. Your growth is doing the talking. And your peace. That's the loudest message of all. Say this out loud right now, and write it in the comments like you mean it. I became the mirror they couldn't face. Number 2. Emotional lag theory. Why they seem fine while you're breaking down. There's something strange that happens after a breakup, but hardly anyone talks about it. You're sitting there, shattered, wondering how they're already out partying, already moved on, already laughing like nothing ever happened, while you can barely breathe without your chest tightening. And you start asking yourself the same brutal question over and over again. Did I mean nothing to them? But what if I told you? They're not ahead of you. They're just on delay. And what you're seeing right now, it's not healing. It's a head start built on ego, not truth. This is what I call emotional lag. It's real and it's cruel, not because it's intentional, but because it's invisible at first. When someone walks away from a connection, they don't feel the absence immediately. They feel freedom. They feel distraction. Their ego tricks them into thinking they made the right call. They don't feel the emotional crash when they slam the door. They feel it after the silence sinks in, after the messages stop, after you stop reaching out. When the world stops spinning around them and the adrenaline of escape wears off, that's when the void creeps in. Meanwhile, you, the one who was left, feel everything immediately. There's no ego buffering you, no distractions to shield you. The weight hits instantly. It's like a wrecking ball swung through your ribcage while they're still out sipping drinks like nothing ever happened. But folks, that doesn't mean they're fine. It means they're not there yet. Emotional lag is when the dumper's guilt, regret, and grief come on a delayed timer. Just because they're not crying on day 1 doesn't mean they won't be choking on regret by day 60. Psychologically, this has roots in something very real: dopamine withdrawal and guilt activation delay. When someone leaves a relationship, especially one they thought they had control over, they often experience a spike in dopamine, a short-lived high from reclaiming their independence or feeding their ego. That dopamine boost creates a sense of relief. But once it fades, their brain starts searching for the emotional bond it used to feed off, and when it doesn't find you there anymore, that's when the panic sets in. By the time you're beginning to piece yourself back together, they're just starting to unravel. And that emotional timing mismatch is what makes breakups feel so unfair. You're sitting in the ashes, wondering why they're untouched, not knowing that the fire hasn't reached them yet. But oh, it will. It shows up in strange ways. One day they'll hear a song that used to play while you were cooking together, and suddenly they can't swallow their drink. They'll drive past the spot where you used to wait for them, and their hands will tighten on the wheel. A scent, a phrase, A photo. Triggers hit different when you thought you'd outrun your own heart. And by the time that guilt hits, it doesn't whisper, it roars. And some of you might be asking, so why don't they say something? Why not just come back the moment they realize? Because emotional lag comes with pride paralysis. People don't just feel regret, they feel shame. And the deeper the shame, the harder it is to admit. Coming back means confessing they made a mistake. It means facing the version of you that survived without them. That's not easy for someone whose ego was built on the illusion that you needed them. So don't let their current calm trick you. Don't let their silence rewrite the story in your head. You are not the one who lost. You are simply ahead in the process. They're still in the stage of illusion. But you've already stepped into truth. You've tasted the grief, and now you're stepping into power. And once you start glowing from peace instead of pain, they'll finally feel what you felt, but without the tools to handle it. This is not about revenge. This is not about waiting for them to hurt. This is about understanding the reality of human nature, that some people don't bleed until it's too late, that just because someone seems okay doesn't mean they're gonna stay okay. You're not crazy for hurting first. You're awake, and that awareness is your edge. Write this in the comments if you're ready to stop waiting on their timeline and start owning your healing. Their silence is lag. My healing is real. Number 3. The psychic ping. When they randomly think about you and don't know why. You ever sit there, minding your own business, maybe scrolling through your feed or brushing your teeth, and suddenly, boom, a wave of emotion hits you out of nowhere. A gut feeling, a name in your head, a sudden flash of their face. You're not looking at their photos, you're not reminiscing on purpose, yet somehow they're there, and deep down it feels like they're thinking about you, like something's hanging in the air, like they almost texted you. That feeling? That's not just nostalgia, that's a psychic ping. Now don't get it twisted. This isn't about reading minds or magic. This is about emotional residue. Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious, a web of emotional memory that binds people who've shared deep connection. When two people are emotionally linked, the energy between them doesn't just vanish when the relationship ends. It lingers like smoke after a fire. It clings to certain places, sounds, smells, and most of all, it embeds itself in the nervous system. This is where psychic pings are born, through unresolved emotional tension firing back up in the background of someone's mind, even when they don't consciously want it. Ever heard a song and immediately felt your chest tighten? That's not coincidence. That's emotional retrieval. The mind categorizes experiences by emotion. So if your presence in their life was tied to passion, comfort, intensity, or chaos, their brain now has emotional files attached to you. And when something in their day brushes up against that file, like your cologne in a crowd or hearing your laugh in a stranger, the brain opens the file. Boom, you flood back in. But here's the kicker. They don't always understand why. That's what makes it a psychic ping. It doesn't come from logic. It comes from the subconscious. It's like a spark in the dark, a glitch in their focus they can't trace. They might be sitting with someone new, but suddenly go quiet, distant, checked out. Why? Because something triggered your memory. And now they're in conflict. They won't say it. They may not even be aware of it, but that tension they carry, that restlessness, that's you, still living rent-free in the places they haven't healed. You're not hoping for nothing. You're not hallucinating when you feel that sudden emotional shift. You're just sensitive to what they're not brave enough to speak out loud. The stronger the bond, the deeper the echo. And if the story between you two ended with questions, with betrayal, with unfinished words, that psychic tension doesn't fade. It builds, and it pings harder when they're finally alone, away from distractions, sitting in their silence. It might happen at 2 a.m. when the world is asleep and their phone is in their hand, but they're frozen on your name. It might happen when they drive past the place you used to meet and their chest sinks before their brain catches up. This is emotional gravity. You didn't make it up. It's just science meeting soul. And for those asking, but why do I feel it more than they do? Maybe you don't. Maybe they feel it just as much. But you're the one brave enough to sit with it while they're busy running from it. Avoidance doesn't mean immunity. Silence doesn't mean peace. Most people feel the ping and immediately drown it. In new people, in scrolling, in distractions. But their avoidance? That's not strength. That's fear. Because facing the ping means facing the damage. And not everyone's built for that. So if you've felt it lately, that sudden wave, that weird moment of, I think they're thinking about me, don't ignore it. That's the echo reaching back. That's the emotional thread stretching under pressure. That's the universe pulling a memory into the light, just for a second. No, it doesn't always mean they'll text, but it does mean you're not forgotten. You're still under their skin. You're still haunting the places they thought you'd disappear from. Say it with me and drop it in the comments if you know it's true. They feel it too. Number 4. Disruption psychology. The art of becoming unrecognizable to them. Let's get one thing clear, my friends. If you want to stop being seen as the one they left, you have to stop acting like the one they left. That version of you, the one who begged for clarity, the one who kept checking their last scene, the one who tried to hold the pieces together when they already dropped the glass. That version is old, dead, buried. And the moment you decide to kill off that identity, something fascinating happens. Their brain glitches. Their emotional map breaks. Welcome to disruption psychology. The art of becoming so unfamiliar that their mind has no choice but to recalculate. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. We categorize people quickly: safe, unsafe, interesting, boring, weak, powerful. And once someone locks you into a mental box, their brain stops investigating. You become predictable, familiar, easy to ignore. That's what most people do post-breakup. They act in exactly the way the other person expects. They cry, they chase, they post cryptic quotes. They try to get a reaction, and in doing that, they reinforce the story the other person already wrote. I was right to walk away. They still want me. But disruption flips the table. It creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. A mental discomfort that happens when reality doesn't match the story. When someone sees you act in ways they didn't expect, their brain gets confused. Confusion creates curiosity. Curiosity creates obsession. And obsession, that's how emotional attention is reactivated. Imagine this. They expect you to spiral. Instead, you vanish. Not just physically, emotionally. You don't post sad quotes. You don't leave trails of heartbreak. You don't even try to prove a point. You become unreadable. Your energy shifts. Your silence isn't soft. It's surgical. They check your profile and feel nothing they can latch onto. No cracks, no clues. That silence, that's disruption. And it stings louder than any words you could have thrown. Then, maybe weeks later, they catch a glimpse of you laughing. But not the same laugh. Not the wounded version. It's lighter, detached, unbothered. You look like someone they don't know anymore. And that's when their mind starts reaching. Not because they want you back right away, but because they're no longer sure who you've become. And in that uncertainty, obsession is born. See, you're no longer the rejected one. You've become a question mark in their mind, a puzzle they can't solve. You're not who they remember. You're unpredictable, and unpredictability is emotionally addictive. It keeps the brain chasing. It keeps the heart alert. And now, instead of being the one who's waiting, you're the one they're trying to figure out. Now, I know what you're thinking, but isn't that manipulative? No. It's called evolution. It's not a game. It's not revenge. It's you reclaiming your mystery, reclaiming the parts of you that got watered down when you were trying too hard to be enough. You don't owe anyone consistency when that consistency was built around survival. Disrupt that version. Rebuild from strength. Become the version of yourself that you don't even recognize yet. Because if you don't recognize you, they damn sure won't either. This doesn't mean posting fake highlights or becoming cold for no reason. It means becoming so aligned, so unpredictable in your peace, so unattached to their validation that their brain stops knowing how to process you. That's the power of disruption. You shift from the one who got hurt to the one who disappeared and came back dangerous. So let them feel confused. Let them wrestle with their own expectations. You're not here to be understood by the person who couldn't appreciate you in your softest form. You're here to evolve into someone they never saw coming. Say it in the comments if you're ready to become unreadable. They won't recognize me. Number 5. The contrast trap. Why every new person they meet highlights your absence. Let's talk about one of the most uncomfortable truths nobody wants to admit out loud. You don't miss the person until you're standing next to someone else who just doesn't hit the same. And folks, this is where it starts to bite them. Not when you walk away, not when you stop texting, not when you disappear. No, the real sting begins the moment they try to replace you and fail. This is called the contrast trap. It's psychological, it's inevitable, and it hits harder than any breakup quote ever could. See, comparison is baked into the human brain. We don't just experience something, we measure it against what came before, and the moment they meet someone new, that process kicks in, whether they like it or not. They won't realize it at first. They'll be hyped about the fresh start, the attention, the thrill of someone new. But all that surface noise starts to fade the minute they look for what you gave them, and it's not there. Suddenly, the new person doesn't laugh like you, doesn't challenge them like you, doesn't feel like home. The spark might be there, but the depth, the stability, that emotional safety you built brick by brick, nowhere to be found. And that's the trap, because the more they try to move on, the more your absence gets louder. You're not even in the room, but you're everywhere, in the way their new partner avoids eye contact during arguments, in how conversations feel more forced, in how nothing ever quite lands the way it used to. They might brush it off at first, blame the timing, blame the vibe, blame you. But eventually they'll start wondering why nobody else seems to measure up. And that's the moment regret creeps in. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, slow, like a leak in the ceiling that starts small and never stops dripping, and every drop whispers the same thing. You had something rare, and you let it go. You see, people don't usually miss the person. They miss the feeling. And when you were emotionally consistent, patient, forgiving, honest, that becomes the baseline in their mind. Whether they admit it or not, you become the standard, and everything after you, measured against it, and most of it won't stand a chance. Now here's what makes it even worse for them. You're no longer trying to prove your worth. You're not begging to be seen. You've pulled back, leveled up, gone quiet. And in your silence, the contrast becomes unbearable, because when you were around, they didn't have to think twice. Now, everything reminds them of the choice they made, and the consequences echo in every new conversation that feels half-hearted, every date that ends without connection. Every night they lie awake, remembering the version of peace they once had in your presence. The contrast trap isn't about revenge. It's not about wishing them pain. It's about inevitability. You gave them something whole. And once someone's tasted real, fake becomes obvious. So don't worry if they look happy with someone else. That smile might be real, but so is the void underneath it. and that void has your name written all over it. Eventually they'll stop looking for someone better and start realizing they already had it. But by the time that truth hits, you'll be too far gone, too elevated, too healed, and what they miss won't just be you. It'll be the version of you that they no longer have access to. Say this out loud and type it in the comments if you feel it in your soul. They'll compare, and I'll win. Number 6. Ego collapse and the comeback loop. The 3 psychological stages before they reach out. People don't just wake up one day and text you out of the blue. That message that shows up at 11:43 p.m. with the "hey, you swore" would never come again. That moment didn't fall from the sky. It was built, quietly, privately, over time. You didn't see it, but their mind was spiraling, their ego was bending. And what looks like a random comeback is actually the final stage of a hidden emotional cycle we call the comeback loop. It always starts with stage 1, denial via distraction. This is their victory lap. This is the "I'm fine without you" phase. The one where they're all over social media, posting highlights, out with friends, maybe even posting someone new. They're loud on purpose, because if they stay quiet too long, the thoughts start creeping in. So they flood their life with noise, new people, new places, fake laughter, new routines. But this isn't healing, it's suppression. They're not dealing with what happened, they're just trying to outrun it, and it works. For a little while. Then comes stage 2, unexpected triggers. This is where the cracks begin. They're in the middle of their day, maybe in a car, maybe watching a show, and something hits. A song, a scent, a phrase, a stranger who vaguely resembles you. And suddenly, the distraction doesn't work like it used to. Their mood shifts. They feel a pang they didn't expect. That pang is memory punching through the wall they built. Now they're trying to keep it together, but the past is starting to leak in. And the worst part? They don't know how to stop it. And then, the one they never see coming, stage 3, ego collapse. This one is silent. This is when they finally admit to themselves that they're not okay, that you weren't just another person, that their pride cost them something meaningful. It usually hits late at night, when the distractions run dry, when their bed feels too cold, when the excitement fades, when they realize none of these new people know them the way you did. That's when the guilt and the missing hit like a punch in the chest, and it doesn't let go. But here's the wild part. Ego collapse doesn't lead straight to a message. First, they wrestle. Should I text them? Do they hate me now? What if they don't reply? What if I look weak? That internal dialogue becomes a mental war zone. They check your profile, but don't like anything. They type out a message, then delete it. They try to convince themselves they're fine, then find themselves stalking your page 2 hours later. This loop happens multiple times before they finally cave. And when they do, it's not just a message, it's a surrender. The comeback loop is real. And it tends to activate around the 3rd emotional disruption, the 3rd time your absence slaps them in the face. Maybe it's seeing you with someone new. Maybe it's watching you thrive without them. Maybe it's a date that made them realize how dull connection feels without you in the room. Whatever it is, that 3rd hit usually breaks the dam. That's when denial dies and longing takes over. That's when the silence feels suffocating. That's when they break. And when they finally reach out, don't be shocked by the timing. Don't fall for the illusion that they just now started missing you. They've been spiraling for weeks, months even. You just weren't supposed to see it. You were too busy healing, evolving, becoming the version of yourself they no longer feel entitled to. So don't chase, don't wait, don't doubt yourself when they seem fine. The loop is already running, and if the bond was real, they're already somewhere in it. You just don't see the battle yet. Say it if you feel it. Type it in the comments. The loop has started. Number 7. Closure reversal. When they come back, it's not for closure. It's for reconnection. Let's kill the fantasy right now. Closure is a myth. It's a sweet-sounding lie people cling to so they don't have to admit what they're really doing. Because the truth is, when they come back, it's rarely to give you peace. It's to steal some for themselves. They don't come back to right the wrong. They come back to rewrite the story, to soften the guilt, to edit the narrative so they don't feel like the villain in their own memory. This is what we call closure reversal, when the person who left you suddenly circles back, not because they're healed, not because they've changed, but because the version of events that haunts them needs a rewrite. Let me be real with you, my friends. They're not texting just to check in. They're testing the water. They want to see if the door is still cracked. Because if it is, if you reply, if you give them warmth, if you ease the tension, then boom, they don't have to feel like the bad guy anymore. They tell themselves, it didn't end badly. We're cool. I didn't hurt them that bad. Look, we're talking again. It's not reconciliation, it's reputation repair in their head. Now don't get it twisted. It doesn't mean they don't miss you. They do. But it's layered. They miss you and they want to feel better about what they did. And the moment they sense you're still emotionally available, it soothes their guilt like a painkiller. You stop being the proof of their failure. You become their emotional bandage. And just like that, they start to rewrite history, not because it's true, but because they can't carry the truth anymore. This is why they'll pop up months later with that gentle, "Hey, how have you been?" as if they didn't vanish, as if they didn't leave you in pieces. It's never a direct apology. It's a soft entrance, designed to test your emotional temperature. And if you respond with anything warm, they'll use that warmth to comfort themselves. See? I wasn't that bad. That's not closure. That's ego maintenance. But here's the plot twist. If you stay calm, grounded, detached, you flip the reversal back on them. You don't feed their need for comfort. You let the discomfort sit. You let the silence stretch. You answer without bitterness, but without softness. You don't attack, you just don't rescue them from the truth. And that's what really burns. Not your anger, but your indifference. Because once they realize they can't rewrite the ending, they're forced to sit with the real one. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you build on your own. The moment you stop waiting for them to fix it is the moment you become unshakable. And the power of closure reversal is this. When they try to come back for validation and don't get it, they finally face what they did. That's when the real regret starts. That's when their memory of you shifts from the one I left to the one I'll never get back. So if they text, don't flinch, don't jump, don't give them the emotional band-aid they're looking for. Let them wrestle with the story. Let them sit with the ending they created. You don't need to scream or explain. You just need to hold your line. And if you're there right now, if they've reached out, if you feel that twist in your gut, remember this. They're not here to give you peace. They're here to take it. Say it in the comments if you know your worth now. I don't need closure. Number 8. Final message. This isn't about them anymore. It's about who you become when you stop chasing. Let's end this with the truth most people aren't ready to hear. You don't win when they come back. You win when you stop caring if they ever do. That's the turning point. That's when everything shifts. Because this entire time, you thought the closure, the justice, the healing would come from their return. But what if I told you that's not the prize? That's not the victory lap. That's just the final test. And when they do come back, because they will, it won't be your moment of triumph unless you've already outgrown the need for it. See, the game flips the moment your healing stops being about them. When your focus stops orbiting their absence, when your growth stops being a message you're trying to send to them and becomes something you're doing for you. That's when the entire emotional dynamic collapses. You become a different person, not because you pretended to move on, but because you actually did. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And this final stretch is about that choice. You can keep looping in their memory, trying to decode their silence, hanging on to the hope that maybe this time they'll get it. Or you can decide to become someone whose value isn't tied to their recognition anymore. Because real freedom doesn't come when they apologize. Real freedom is when you stop needing the apology. And let's be honest, my friends, most people don't change until they lose their access to you, not the idea of you, not the memory of you. You, your energy, your presence, your kindness. When all of that is gone, not out of bitterness but because you've evolved, that's when their mind spirals. That's when they finally get it. But by then, you're not the same. You're not waiting anymore. You're not stuck. You're built. You're focused. You're grounded. You're thinking bigger. You're not checking their story to feel something. You're too busy building a life they wouldn't even know how to navigate. And now the question isn't, will they come back? It's, do I even want them near this version of me? Because this version of you is no longer starving for crumbs. This version has standards. This version has boundaries. This version isn't emotionally available to people who only show up once you're already healed. So don't chase validation. Don't sit around hoping they'll realize your worth. You realize it. You take your power back by refusing to hand it over to the same hands that once dropped it. And when they reach out, not if, but when, don't treat it like destiny. Treat it like a checkpoint, a mirror, a moment for you to see just how far you've come, because this isn't about proving you were right. It's about knowing you were always enough, even when they couldn't see it. And when they come back, they'll be coming back to a gate that doesn't open the same way it used to. A version of you that's calm, kind, composed, but no longer available. And that's the real win. Not revenge, not ego, just quiet, solid self-respect. So if you've been waiting for a sign that you're done chasing, this is it. Walk forward, eyes open, shoulders back. You're not the same. You're bigger now. And here's the bottom line, my friends. This was never about them. It was always about you, who you're becoming, and how unstoppable you are when you stop chasing and start evolving. If you felt this message hit somewhere deep, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Smash that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss another drop of truth, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. This community isn't just healing. We're rising. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. And remember, they'll come back. But you won't be waiting.